Today we're gonna have a look at a gold medal match from the Open Longsword competition at the Black Horns Cup held earlier this year in the summer in Poznań, Poland. The first fighter is Łukasz Dąbrowski from Fechtschule Gdańsk. Over the last few years, Łukasz has been a frequent and successful contender for medals in Polish tournaments. His weapon of choice is longsword, but he doesn't shun from saber, sword and buckler, or rapier. He also qualifies as a HEMA dinosaur, having seen the growth of the community in Poland from scratch, as well as influencing its evolution while developing as a fencer himself. His rich experience provides him with a lot of foresight in fights. Of course, he can still be surprised by dynamic younger fencers, but rarely gets caught with the same trick again. This is possible thanks to his wide repertoire, which allows him to adapt to different fencers and adopt diverse tactical approaches. Whereas Łukasz is generally cautious in combat, he is capable of launching a committed and well-timed attack or surprise the opponent with a seemingly reckless charge. The trick with the latter is that Łukasz does much of his thinking before the exchange even starts. In result, in many cases he doesn't have to rely much on speed or explosiveness to score a direct hit, like here. Łukasz is also hard to hit or drive back with attacks, since he has a good first parry combined with a quick riposte. Unless he planned otherwise, Łukasz rarely uses combinations of parries. Instead, he prefers to stop longer exchanges with his riposte or grappling, where his body weight, good balance and experience usually give him the upper hand. However, when needed, Łukasz knows how to use counter time to lure opponents into longer, pre-planned exchanges. In the past, Łukasz was also known for his technical experiments in tournaments. He would choose a set of techniques to test or a certain tactical principle to use as often as possible during competitions. And he often fared surprisingly well despite restricting himself this way. In the current example, we can see him during a bronze medal fight he won in 2015 against Filip Fica, a formidable opponent with Olympic fencing background. Łukasz fenced from high foam tag not only in this fight, but throughout the whole tournament. More recently, he adopted a different approach. He tries to change his fighting style from fight to fight so as to nullify his opponent's strengths and exploit weaknesses. Sometimes it involves using some rather unorthodox solutions which then prove to be poor choices, but overall this strategy seems to work pretty well. As for the weak spots in his game, the kind of opponents that Łukasz finds least comfortable are those who are taller, manage distance very well and are capable of explosive attacks in the high line. Łukasz cannot make very long attacks himself, which means against such opponents he needs to rely on more complex fencing actions, such as provocations or counter time, where even a slight mistake usually means receiving a hit. In the other corner of the ring we have Konrad Kramarz, a fighter currently affiliated with Mordschlag Łódź. Konrad's adventure with HEMA is rather fresh as it started 2 years ago. However, Konrad definitely is an experienced fighter with over a decade of training in various Asian martial arts, modern self-defense and medals from padded weapons tournaments. He's also very fit, especially when it comes to sheer strength and explosiveness. In the saber, his weapon of choice, he combines his physical advantage with good timing to pull off various rarely seen moves, such as this dodge, some of which might in fact be valid in historical fighting arts. His stamina, sense of the tempo and distance management transfer pretty well across weapons. However, he clearly feels much more comfortable with a one-handed piece of steel than a two-handed longsword. Konrad swinging his featherschwert with ease as if it was saber is a recurring sight in his bouts. With such assets, Konrad is a confident attacker. Combined with all-out lunges or jumps, his direct cuts to the legs or the head as well as thrusts are hard to stop, and despite looking somewhat primitive, they are backed with solid preparation. Konrad shows this confidence and athleticism also by repeating the same or similar attack over and over again, this way draining both his opponent's stamina and resilience, and forcing them to retreat, sometimes literally driving them off the field. But don't get fooled. Attacking Konrad first is not an easy way out. He knows how to retreat in order and has his ways to bite while moving backwards. Sometimes, after harassing the opponent with relentless offensive, he switches to a more defensive mode, possibly to take a breath, but also in order to provoke an attack. When the opponent starts his or her advance, Konrad uses his fast footwork and change in direction to take over the initiative. Such taken over attacks reflect Konrad's previous competitive experiences with padded weapons and his current cross-training in the Olympic saber. What Konrad lacks is control of the center line and binding skills. Thus, opponents can surprise him by gaining the blade if they combine it with fast and long-reaching footwork. However, Konrad doesn't hesitate to foil such tactics with repeated and often rather suicidal counterattacks, which in competitive setting eventually shatter opponents' confidence and open them up for a successful counter. In my opinion, Konrad's greatest weakness is his poor balance and mediocre grappling in armed combat. Both are rather surprising given Konrad's overall fitness as well as martial arts and self-defense experience. It has to be noted though, that this problem is largely missing in his saber game, which, as mentioned at the beginning, points to the two-handedness of longswords as the probable reason. So, this match is going to put cunning and foresight grounded in good body mechanics, balance and wide repertoire, against power combined with confidence and good timing as well as smart tactical sense. It is worth noting that Konrad entered this competition about 2 weeks after a long time spent in hospital, so one of his main assets, that is athleticism, was somewhat compromised at the time. The first exchange started with Konrad as usually pushing Łukasz back to his corner. There he tried to use his renewed attacks to confound him, but Łukasz retained clear vision and used his smooth parry riposte to good effect. Note that Łukasz started his riposte from above, thus suggesting that he aimed for the head, but actually used his body positioning to land it below Konrad's parry on his arm. He also predicted Konrad's afterblow and harried with his parry and retreat. Next, Konrad tried to surprise Łukasz with a long direct attack followed by an immediate strike around the parry. However, Łukasz used his seamless parry riposte to fend off one or maybe even both attacks and land a hit. However, judges decided Konrad's follow-up landed too, which made it a double hit. In the third exchange, it is hard to tell for sure what really happened. Clearly, Konrad used a short attack to draw Łukasz's parry riposte and tried to cut it from below. In the process, he got hit in the forearm and missed with his undercut, according to the judges. However, it is worth noting that Konrad's idea behind this action was quite clever, and had he managed distance a bit better, he would have scored. While the judges debate and check the camera, let's note that Łukasz is using his parry riposte deliberately in one go, in order to make it harder for Konrad to maintain pressure and get away with his favorite harassing strikes. Łukasz also uses counterattacks for the same purpose. Then, a long period of re-evaluation ensues. Now you might relax in your chairs, watch closely and try to predict what solutions will fighters come up for the remainder of the fight. Good luck with that. Konrad, having noted that his basic attacks won't pass Łukasz's solid defense, starts trying different attacks. However, Łukasz doesn't try to parry them. He predicts that most of them will be rather suicidal and come from unusual directions, so instead of risking a misplaced parry, he strikes upon Konrad's advance. The resulting double hits help Łukasz secure the score and tire Konrad out. The martial soundness or historical accuracy of such approach is debatable, but it is clearly very reasonable in competitive contexts, especially when at least one side is focused on winning and not adhering to specific martial mentality or tactical guidelines. Such long series of double hits allow fencers to gauge opponents' reactions and prepare for a clean hit. Both Konrad and Łukasz know how to use such situations to their advantage, but in this case it was Łukasz who learned the lesson faster. All of a sudden, Łukasz launches his own attack, but makes it short with the weapon while committing with the footwork. Konrad tries what he likes much, to hit during retreat, but Łukasz is prepared. His initial attack was performed with a high thrust, which allows him to parry the incoming blow to the head with ease. Next, according to his plan, he finishes this counter-time action with a solid blow to the torso. Konrad manages to swing the sword once more soon afterward, and according to what I see on the video, he even scratched Łukasz's mask. However, judges didn't count that and awarded points to Łukasz. Such actions raise various questions regarding tournament rule sets. You can read more on this in the article accompanying the video posted on my Patreon profile. After another double hit, Konrad made a successful attempt at a less committed attack. With a small lunge, he threw his sword lower than usual and hit Łukasz in the hand. Actually, I believe that had Konrad tried such strikes earlier on, he could have disrupted his opponent's defense plan, since this was the weakest spot of the primary parry used by Łukasz throughout the fight. Perhaps he realized that too, and was trying to repeat something of the sort in the final exchange when he managed to push Łukasz to the corner of the field. However, Łukasz recognized that Konrad was torn between attacking and staying away from his riposte, and used this moment of hesitation for a feinted attack to the hand that caught Konrad completely off guard. So, that would be it. If you're interested in reading longer fighters' profiles and an extended commentary to the fight, feel free to visit my Patreon profile. The link is in the description. Apart from that, thanks for watching and see you sometime soon. Take care.